Hey guys, Matt from Bear vs. Wolf here. I've had a lot of people ask about connecting electronic drums, specifically F notes. I talk a lot about F note drums to their different DAWs, so Pro Tools, Logic, whatever it may be. Today we're in Logic, and we're going to talk about how to basically make it work with Steven Slate drums. A lot of people ask about Steven Slate, so that's what I use for a lot of my videos. So basically, we're here in Logic here. You can see the only thing in here right now is a track from my voice. So what you need to do is to connect to your electronic drums is either you have to plug in the micro, F note comes with like a micro USB that you can connect to your computer if you have the right cabling, micro USB to USB-C, whatever it might be. I'm on a MacBook, so you need USB-C, right? If you don't have that exact cable, then you can get adapters. Anchor makes one that will accept a USB-A that looks like a, standard printer cable, type USB, the bigger one here. Let me show you. Careful not to hit my mic here. Looks like this. That comes into focus. Looks like that, right? So if you don't have the right cabling, you can also use the regular MIDI out, the 5-pin MIDI connection. It's a little circle cable that can connect to an adapter. Then you have to have an adapter for that as well. Plug that into your computer. So there's a lot of adapting that needs to go on. So if you haven't figured that part out, I made a video on how to do all that stuff a long time ago, basically adapting everything. But the short story is you need a cable that connects the USB out of your F note module into a USB port on your computer, or from the cable line that comes out of the module there's a regular MIDI connection. It's a little barrel connector with 5 pins. You get an adapter. Mio e-connectivity makes one that adapts that to USB-A, which then you plug into your adapter that adapts that to USB-C. So basically you have to get this into your computer. It's a digital signal. It's not, you can't take the guitar cable, keyboard cable looking outputs or inputs, plug it into an interface, etc. Now, if you have an interface that has MIDI, a MIDI connection, the 5-pin, you could just take the one cable from the MIDI 5-pin barrel into your interface. So a lot of interfaces have that if you have that type of interface. Mine does not, I don't think. Mine actually does. So let me see if I can get this up here so you can see. It's going to be a little tricky. There, if you can see on the back, you've got MIDI connectivity there. And you could plug just straight into those. Sorry for the noise, if there was a noise there. Right, so that's one way to do it. Or one of a couple ways to do it. But basically we're focusing on the software today. So here is how that all works. We're going to make a new track. Right, you always get this, dialogue that comes up here. We're going to go to MIDI. Obviously, this is MIDI. We don't need any of these other options. So we want to use a software instrument. And this actually is already default to what we want, but you'd have to go through here and look for whatever type of software you were trying to use. It happens to come up under AU Instruments, Audio Units Instruments. And so you just go down, whatever you want to use. I've got some stuff from TuneTrack, Easy Drummer. At some point I had the demo for it. There's audio, you could use Polymax for this. You could use XLN as Addictive Drums. There's a bunch of stuff. So a lot of people are asking about Slate. So let's pull that up. You can use a multi-output, which means your kick, your snare, everything is going to be fed to its own channel in Logic. You could go through down the channels and have kick, snare, overheads, whatever. So you can mix it that way. We're going to do the simpler way right now, stereo. Then everything's just built on one track, one channel, and that's the easier way to do it. So we're going to create that. All right, we're going to just go ahead and label it Slate Drums for now. Okay, so the first thing, if you go ahead and hit record, input, all that good stuff, you might hit your drums and you might not hear anything because nothing is selected in the plugin yet. So under create, which is the first window that pops up, you got to pick a drum set. you can load instrument by instrument, but instead just go to one of the pre-made kits, you know, the presets over here. Let's just pick the very first one, SSD Classic, Classic Rock, Absolute Rock. We're going to double click that. And you're going to notice this drum stuff all filled in, right? So it's all there for you. And what that did is loaded up all the channels, basically, all the MIDI channels with a certain drum. Now, what you might have problems with, and this is maybe why people want this video to be made in the first place, is if you go over to your kit and then you hit the kick drum, it doesn't necessarily trigger the kick drum. Or if you go ahead and you hit your hi-hat, it's not triggering the hi-hat. That can have a problem first. So what you have to do then is go down to Map, right? And all the stuff that's coming in is right here. So let's just go to something like kick drum. And if you wanted to do this, you can go, let's see, kick double, kick center. There you go. Right, and you could hit MIDI learn, and then you hit your kick drum with your foot, right? Hit the pedal, and it will learn that MIDI note. It's coming in as a certain note. You can see it in Logic too if you look up at the top. Like C1 or something in this case. It is set up here, kick center at C1. There you go. So kick center is set up in C1, but you go to MIDI learn and it will listen for an input, and you can then hit your kick drum and it will come in whatever MIDI note it's on based on what it's coming through your module as. Okay? So that's a little bit of a pain. You have to go through and hit every single drum. You'd have to hit rim shots, make sure you're hitting rim shots right, all that stuff. You can go to your head and try to find an output, try to find what's being output, or Logic will tell you, if you get the expanded view up here, it will tell you what MIDI note is being entered, every little thing. So you have to go through and learn, or you have to set these all up one by one in that way. Now, the much, much easier way to do that is you go down here to load preset. And unfortunately, okay, so what's going to pop up here is this IO maps, right? And you've got some options, not a ton of options, but some. Unfortunately, Efnote hasn't really joined the party, so to speak, yet. Most of these Addictive Drums or Slate or Easy Drummer don't have Efnote in their mapping systems yet. So hopefully that's coming soon. Knock on wood, that would be awesome. If you're paying attention out there, MIDI drum guys, get Efnote in your systems. Guys want this stuff in there. Well, what I tend to do is I will go to any kind of roll-in kit that I can, roll-in TD30 in this case. I'm going to click on that, and then boom, it automatically maps to whatever the MIDI notes that are coming out of the rolling kit. Whatever note triggers the kick, whatever note kick triggers the snare, etc., etc., etc. So I go back to create, and I'm going to prove it. Sorry, I'm going to be out of frame for a second here. I'm going to go grab a stick and hit my kit. And there you go. Hopefully you can hear the drums there coming through the system. Now the stuff is mapped. That actually works very, very well for me. My splash on this kit was triggering a China symbol, but you could change that to a splash very easily. Going back then, if you go back to map and go back to find the splash and do a MIDI learn and then hit the splash on the Efnote, for me, 5. But that is basically all you have to do. So you go to create kit, pick your kit, it will load everything in, go to map. You can, like I said, go through it one at a time, which is a big pain, or you just go through. And I'm noticing here the white, it has changed some of the stuff that we were looking at before. This is like a kind of a white and a different color here. I'm a little colorblind, so I don't know if it's yellow or green, but the easy way to do it is go to load preset. You can see down here, and if I go to set as default, it will change back to what it was, or factory reset everything. Goes back to where everything's right, white. Go to load preset, roll in TDM. Now all this stuff has changed. And it should be like 99% there. I've always just used roll-in presets, and they tend to work very, very well. So you should have no issue with that. If it misses one thing here or there, like I say, you go and do the MIDI learn for one crash or whatever. All right, so that's the beginning tutorial here on how to run this MIDI stuff with Steven Slate drums. If you got any other questions, I know a couple guys were asking about Slate. If you need more in depth or the next step or whatever it may be, just hit me up with a comment. Thanks for watching. Bear vs. Wolf. See you in the next one.